Yeah, so myself and my wife Hannah have always been involved in church and different things, and we actually spent a good bit of time in South Africa. Yeah, kind of through conversations with different people in the Church of Ireland, this opportunity to be involved with Moneyreagh Community Church came up, and it's been a really exciting journey, and I was there alongside another guy for a few years, and then he moved on, so I've been leading that for maybe 2 or 3 years now on my own, and it's been scary and totally out of my depth at times, but yeah, God's been really faithful, and we've seen growth, and we've seen people come to faith, and we've seen people baptised, and we've seen real connection with the community, so it's been an exciting few years.
Welcome to the gathering. My name's Ross Munro and I'm the church plant leader here for the gathering and the chaplain for the Titanic Parish, Belfast. And we're in our new home of St Martin's, and we've been here for the last 2 months or so. Church planting is not necessarily about finding new expressions of church, do church in a different way nobody else has ever done before. It's more about finding those forgotten ways of how they done church in the very beginning. And we thought we'd got the essence of that, you know, in the dock, but it still felt as though God was holding something back. So out of that holding back and how we prayerfully sort of seek the Lord in those things, conversations started happening. And out of those conversations, this opportunity to come into St Martin's became from conversation with our Bishop David, and then from the St Patrick's and John, we came to this thinking that perhaps this could be an ideal opportunity for us.
So our big thing at Moneyreagh Community Church is in the name. We want to be a community. We want to create a community, a family based on those values of the early church in Acts 2:42. And going forward as a church, you know, we're now 6-7 years into this, and we have a really good group of people who come along, 70-80 people on a Sunday. We've got youth and kids and some small groups and different things, but what we want to do and what we see our role in the church or in the community is to create community, to create space for people to join together, you know, Christians, non-Christians, wherever people come from, any background. You know, from a secular point of view of just getting together, getting people together, build relationships, do life together. But in the middle of that, our role as a church is to, you know, make people aware that God is here, His presence is with us.
I suppose it's one of those journeys that you take with God that you never expect. You want to be humble enough to think that God, why would God want to use me in this way? And yet He leaves you with this wonderful sense of peace. R.T. Kendall has an amazing book called Is Your God Too Nice? And in it he uses this aorist of the word peace. And I think as leaders we're all seeking after that peace of God in our decision making, to know that you're in the will of God, that the Lord is filling the sails with His Spirit and He's the one guiding the ship.
A really cool story, we do stuff in the care home in Moneyreagh. There was one of the care assistants who worked there was really interested in why we were there, and we were leading a little Christmas service, and after the service she just came and asked a question around what we were doing and why we were doing it, and myself and another lady were able to share with her just the gospel, that Jesus loved her and He died for her, and she just responded on the spot in the care home, and she came to church, and then she got baptised on Easter Sunday, which was an amazing kind of testimony, and was really powerful for our church to see God moving in that way. So that's probably been one of the best stories we've seen. Yeah, I guess if you feel like you're called to ministry, you feel like you're called to church planting, just go for it, trust God. You know, in my experience of life and ministry, you know, God is so faithful when I risk it for Him, when I risk my life for Him, when I risk my reputation, when I risk my career, when I risk my finances, when I do those things for Him, then He is faithful to me, and that's been my experience. And you know, the journey's not always easy, it's not always the mountaintop, it's not always celebrating and all the things we see. Sometimes it's very low at times, it's up and down, it's hard on yourself and sometimes hard on your family, but it's worth it when you see what God is doing, when you see what He's building, and to be part of that is something that I'm happy to give my life to. I'm happy to give my career to, I'm happy to give my finances to, because the Lord has put a real passion for church in my heart.
I look at my journey and I wonder how on earth I've got to this point, you know, but it's been purely the Lord opening doors, you know, it's been Him opening the doors and me being willing to step into them and trusting in that, you know.
I'm just so excited at the moment. I'm standing in St Mary's Church in Newry, which along with St Patrick's Church in Newry in the city of Newry is looking forward to welcoming the Reverend Scott MacDonald as their new rector and as the leader of a whole new outreach work, a centre of mission. We're going to be, as a diocese, working in partnership with Church Army. This is just one new initiative that we're looking forward to in the diocese among many, where we work hard at growing what's already there and at the same time put in place something new and something fresh, a fresh expression of church, a church plant alongside that. And that's the plan for the city of Newry, that St Patrick's Church and St Mary's Church will thrive, and that alongside them there will be something new and something fresh that will reach into the city, that will see many people won for Christ, and will see actually a whole new work for God birthed in this city. My plan and dream and prayer is that right across the diocese, where there are communities, where there's maybe new housing developments, where there are people groups that traditional church isn't reaching at the moment, that we continue to really bless and build and bring renewal and bring growth to what's already there, because that works for many. But for those for whom that is not going to reach, we plant something new. We plant something fresh that will reach them for Christ. So at the moment I've actually got 5 places that I'm looking for people and for resources that will plant into a completely new context in different parts of our diocese. And my prayer is, and my commitment is this, that every year there'll be at least one new church plant in this diocese. I'd love you to partner with us in that, to be part of that the whole diocese would be part of this. You might say, well, how can we do that in our context? In lots of ways. That every parish would be aware of these initiatives, would be praying for these new initiatives. That there would be those churches that would be providing resources, perhaps people to come and help from time to time with youth camps or with children's work in these new contexts, in these new church plants, with these new people groups that we'll be raising up across the diocese. And already there's a church in the diocese that have said, look, we will partner and we will provide financial resources as a new church is planted in another part of the diocese. I'd love to see other congregations get involved in that sort of way. Let's do this together. Let's see the church in the diocese of Down and Dromore, where it already exists in marvellous buildings like this building that I'm standing in here in St Mary's Newry and up the hill in St Patrick's. Let's see congregations like that grow, while at the same time let's see new churches planted perhaps in community halls, planted perhaps in schools, planted perhaps in existing church buildings where the numbers are such that they're very small, and that congregation might be able to enable another congregation to happen at a different time of the day or the different time of the week. But just let's do it. There are hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that we need to reach for Christ, that are not going to any church of any denomination. In the Church of Ireland we have a parish system, and that means that every street, every household, every rural community, every townland is our responsibility. And where there are people who are not following Jesus, we have a call and a responsibility. And actually it was part of the promises that I made whenever I was ordained a bishop, and presbyters, priests, deacons make whenever they are ordained, that we would seek out the lost, that we would go in search of them until we find them, and that we would bring them into God's church, into God's family, into a relationship with Jesus Christ. So we are going to plant new congregations. We are going to plant new churches, and we're going to work really hard at strengthening what already exists. Please engage with us. Please partner with us. Please ask for more information. Please find ways to contribute financially as churches, as congregations, as individuals to this very important work. Please pray for me. Please pray for Scott, who will be coming here to St. Patrick's and St. Mary's Newry. Please pray for the other church plant leaders. Please pray for those new churches that are going to be planted in the diocese of Down and Dromore. And may the Lord lead all of us to engage with those around us, with those that don't know Jesus, and in our context find ways of just enabling them to know the love of God and the goodness of God and the provision of God in their context, in your context, in every corner and in every street and in every townland in this diocese of Down and Dromore. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.